Hi there, my name is Keith and I'm here to tell you about mnemonics and brain-based learning strategies. We have two strategies we want to teach you today. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get down to it. The two strategies I want to talk to you about today are mnemonics and the method of loci. Right now I'm going to talk to you about those two strategies and how they relate to the brain and how the brain functions in terms of memory. So basically we have short-term memory, and if we look at the brain here, let's just change the picture, we notice that the short-term memory acts as a kind of scratch pad for temporary recall, and it happens in the frontal lobes or prefrontal parietal lobes here. Okay. Now, in terms of long-term memory, physiologically, the establishment of long-term memories happens throughout the brain and involves a process of physical changes in the structures of neurons. All right. So this is called long-term potentiation. So we know long-term potentiation is the creation of new neural pathways in the brain, but there's also another important part of the brain in terms of long-term memory, and that's the hippocampus. And the hippocampus area of the brain essentially acts as a kind of temporary transit point for long-term memories, but it itself is not used to store information. It is very essential to the consolidation of information from short-term to long-term memory. And how we do that is through meaningful association. So let's make some new neural pathways. So the first strategy we're going to look at is mnemonics. Tomorrow we have a music test, dun 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 dun, in our music survey class on these 7 composers. We have to memorize them all in order, their last name, and maybe the birth date we'll go with just for the sake of this video. Okay, so we put them in order here. Let's not use the first names, okay? Let's use just the last names. We can focus on the last names because most professors will allow just the last name if we remember it on the test. So we have Pachelbel is P, right? And it is, I think I'm saying it right. So P, we can think of a word that starts with P, usually at the beginning of a sentence would be please. Okay, so we have please, okay? Next one is we need a verb, so we're going to Rousseau. Let's use remember. Yams and Z. So we can think of anything that starts with Z. Let's do, please remember to pick up yams and zebras. Now you're probably wondering why I used zebras and not zucchini, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Please remember to pick up yams and zebras is our mnemonic device. Do you got that? So, test is tomorrow. So basically the method of loci is also called memory palace or the mind palace technique. And the reason they call it that is because you're using spatial learning to consolidate large chunks of information into the long-term memory. So basically you're using a familiar place that you know very well in your mind's eye, and you're walking through it. And as you're walking through the palace, you're picking up the letters for the items on your list that you need to memorize. So let's see the memory palace or the method of loci in action. So as you can see, I'm standing in a parking lot and I'm going to class. So this is a very familiar walk for me every day. So the first thing I need to pick up in the parking lot is P for Pachelbel, right? As I head through the parking lot, the next major item that I always pass is a rock. You see that big rock there? So this rock, I'm gonna say R is Rousseau. And then I'm gonna quickly jog past this rock here. And on my left, there's this big evergreen tree. I'm going to say that's T for Tchaikovsky. So we have T Tchaikovsky for the tree. Next, I always see this path that I walk on. So we're going to use P for path, which is also P for Puccini. After the path, I see a yield sign, which is yield Y. And if you remember, Y is Yamada. And then we go across the street, so that's A for Andreessen. Now, after I go across the street, I'm in this field. And as you know, it's going to be pretty hard to find something for Zimmerman or Z that starts with Z in this field. But that's okay, because the memory actually likes salient and random objects. So if you think of a strange object to put in this field, then you might actually remember it more. So the most random object I can think of that starts with a Z is from my favorite band, Led Zeppelin. So I'm going to put a Zeppelin in the middle of the field and maybe have it crash and burn. And I can remember that that's Zimmerman and that's Z for Zeppelin. And those are our 2 strategies for you to learn and memorize a list very quickly. Thanks for watching.